What is up, and welcome to another edition of Worth a Watch with me, Anthony Flores. Iron Man 3 is something of a special movie. It's a highly anticipated movie. It is something that many film fans, comic book fans, and so many other fans in general alike are waiting to see this movie this coming Friday. Or if you're seeing this video already after the fact, you wanted to see it, and depending on what you thought, we'll see if you and I agree or disagree, and so on and so forth. I really didn't know what to use visually for this review, but just to quickly, obviously you can tell already, I drew an Iron Man and Tony Stark, just image, if you will, just a nice, simple drawing, pencil, graphite, however you want to look at it, and I thought it came out pretty damn good. I actually mostly did it out of my own head. I just referenced one quick picture of the Iron Man mask. I really wanted to get that right. Tony Stark and the rest of the material on the Iron Man suit, I just kind of did it in my own head. If it's not truly accurate, I don't care. That's the beauty of art. I just did it mostly out of my own head. So enjoy it as I'm talking, the visual stimulation, if you will. Maybe I can put some little photos, but I don't feel like using trailers because, YouTube's a bitch in terms of that. But we move on to the actual discussion that we obviously want to have here. Iron Man 3. Is it good or is it bad? Is it a worthy successor to the Avengers movie, Iron Man films, and everything else in general? I will say this. If you're expecting this to be the epic grand finale of God knows what in your brain and expectations and so on and so forth, no, this is not an epic finale. This is not one of those movies that just will blow your mind insanely. But it is a very satisfying and very good action blockbuster movie that we all want in the summertime. It's really good in so many ways compared to Iron Man 2. I'll just say that right off the bat. But the basic plot of this film is that Tony Stark is dealing with a lot of things right now. He has a lot of strain in his mind, dealing with the events of the Avengers movie, and having a lot of backlashed memories that just keep messing with his brain, basically, and not being able to live life the way he usually does. Just work, and so on and so forth. He's really just getting an emotional breakdown, if you will, in this movie. And I think that was such a good way to take his character because it humanizes him more and it fleshes out his character. We actually will give a shit even more about the Tony Stark character. And Robert Downey Jr. does a superb job of that. It's amazing how he can actually act as well as keep pursuing that narcissistic humor that we all have known the Tony Stark character can truly dish out to people. The main plot, as I said, just Tony Stark dealing with these anxiety issues he's suffering from. And also the strained relationship between him and Pepper Potts, once again played by Gwyneth Paltrow. And his friends, Happy Hogan, played by Jon Faverau, and Captain Rhodey, we'll just call him Rhodey because I can't remember his full name, played once again by Cheadle, are also worried about Tony, just falling apart, blah, 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 blah. It's just a mess. And once a new tech adversary comes into the picture from Tony's past, played by Pearce, he is basically the Justin Hammer for the movie. And then the other main villain we have here is the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley. I think both of them did a superb job of what their characters are, the villains of this film, the adversary, and the main bad guy. I think it's just such a refreshing thing to see Pearce do. I remember seeing him in Lawless, and I thought, damn, this guy's pretty disturbingly kind of creepy and whatever. And Ben Kingsley, well, the last blockbuster he was in, as I can recall, The Dictator. It was supposed to be a comedy blockbuster. That didn't turn out so well. So good to see him do something decent and actually in a good movie. So that's always good. And in terms of just the stuff I want to complain about or just warn you, the viewer, about, the negatives, I personally got kind of peeved off a little bit. It's a personal pet peeve when cliches are abundant and just right in the forefront of dealing with certain situations in this movie. And there's a couple of situations, especially around the middle of the film, the second act, some situations get resolved too quickly. And I hate that when the story just kind of, the screenplay, the writing, whatever. I hate when movies do that. That is my personal pet peeve of this movie. But compared to Iron Man 2, once again, yeah, this is just miles ahead better in terms of story and writing. Aside from that, the biggest pet peeve many people, especially comic book fans of Iron Man, will hate or just be truly divided on this movie is just the way some of the characters are just some of the twists involving some of the characters and their reasons and whatever they have to do in this movie. Just some people will definitely hate that and may say fuck this movie and fuck this franchise, because it could piss some comic book people off that much, from what I understand. But for me as a film fan, just a fan of the movies, I thought, you know what, it's fine. It threw me off, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was a unique enough twist because I personally didn't see it coming when it came to some of the situations that happened in the film. So for me personally, it's not that big of a deal. But for comic book lore and stuff like that, yeah, some people may hate a lot of this movie. So going on to the more positive things in the review here, the basic thing I can think of is fleshing out the Iron Man characters. Not just Iron Man, Tony Stark himself, but Pepper Potts as well as Happy Hogan and Rhodey. I thought it was just so great for them to actually have shit to do in this film. And compared to the second one, yeah, just absolutely nothing. They had nothing, unfortunately, to contribute, aside from vaguely Pepper Potts had something to do with the CEO position from the last film. But this film, she actually has a little bit more to do. She is really feeling... You just feel the emotions between all these characters caring about Tony Stark and hoping he gets his life together and trying to just go back to his normal self, as well as helping him out in the adventure that happens in this film and the fighting the bad guys and whatever. So they actually have stuff to do, and I think that's one of the biggest redeeming positives in this film. And in regards to the plot, as I said, it's not as convoluted and shoved in with Avengers nods and referencing and characters from Avengers. It's actually pretty subtle nods, and that's all we, as the film fans, need, in my opinion. Just the subtle nods, that's all we need. And that's good enough, in my opinion. And the 3D, it was okay. It wasn't terrible 3D. It's post-converted. It is what it is. Some of the effects were nice and just seeing a bunch of stuff fly in the air, but aside from that, don't rush out. Unless you're going to see it in IMAX, okay. But if you're going to be seeing it at a regular theater, just go for the 2D screening. And the final point, obviously, Shane Black, giving a new feel to this film. It's just completely different in terms of tone. It's a lot more humorous, and that some people may worry about that, but considering the way Tony Stark's character already was established, pushing the narcissistic humor was just all the better for this movie, in my opinion. It was solid, it was funny. When every time there was a joke, it just hit so well. I laughed a lot, the whole crowd was laughing. Anytime Robert Downey Jr. spat out a one-liner or something, it was great. And just the chemistry between him and all the characters, whether it be Rhodey or Pepper, it was solid chemistry that was just shared better on screen, and that was probably due to the better writing. And in terms of just the feel of the film that Shane Black brings, it definitely feels like a solid action film, and it does have a lot of more humor, and his direction was actually really welcomed, in my opinion. I really like Jon Faverau, but the direction, it's nothing too crazy. He did a great job of the first two films for what he could do, especially the first film, but Shane Black definitely made this movie feel different and almost a standalone movie as well. So overall, I bottom line enjoyed this film. Aside from a few pet peeves and just some, kind of instances where I'm just like, that, really, you're going to go there kind of situations. It's a really damn good blockbuster in my opinion. I think people will judge it too harshly because it's not that epic finale like the way The Dark Knight Rises was trying to portray. And it's also not better than the original either. So I think this movie is going to get a lot of flack. I already feel that right away. I've seen in reviews from other people. They hated it. It's all a mixture. It's really a mixed bag this time around. And that's okay, for people who really feel that way about the film. If they hate it, go for it. Explain why you hate it. But don't just hate just because one thing you didn't like just went south in the film. And if you loved it, great. Even all the better. I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. He's an awesome, awesome actor. He knocked it out of the park with this one. I loved all the suits. I loved the action. A lot of it was in the third act. So that was also really a great way to end the film, with a lot of action, a lot of explosions. And it's that kind of action where you can see what the hell's going on, especially considering a lot is going on in the third act. So overall, I had a lot of fun with this movie, and my final rating is a 9 out of 10. I loved all the characters. I loved Robert Downey Jr. Just good to see him once again put on the Iron Man suit and all the new technology that's put out there in this film. And like the villains, I like the direction. I just really dug this movie. It was a really enjoyable movie. And another final comparison to Iron Man 2, I remember walking out of that theater thinking, you know, that kind of blowed. And I had to watch it 2 more times in the theater. And then I recall, you know what, it kind of grew on me. I enjoyed it a little bit better. But if all I can remember from Iron Man 2 is, if I can do an impression here, of Ivan Vanko, played by Mickey Rourke, just all I can remember right off the bat when I think Iron Man 2, I want my bird. I want my bird. That's all I remember from that movie, and that's hysterical to me. Anyways, that is my review of Iron Man 3. Obviously, I was not in frame, but I have my drawing going, and I hope you enjoyed that as well. I definitely am a big fan of comic book art, and I like to think this came out pretty simple, but pretty awesome at the same time. I love the Iron Man movies, and it was awesome to draw it. It was awesome to review it for y'all here as well. So I hope you enjoyed the visual aid here as well as me talking about this movie. But anyways, thank you once again for watching. Feel free to comment below, like, subscribe, and all that other good stuff in between. And until next time, I'm Anthony Flotis with Worth a Watch, and keep going to the movies.